Making a video. Yay. Possibly. Alright, it's just comments, so it's not going to be any fun. Just saying goodbye to some of these assholes, so I give them their last little shit, and then they're done. So I'll read this one. This one's not so bad, so it won't be one of the it has to go fuckers. I think I'll just put the camera down. No point in you reading any of this shit. I'll read it badly, but well enough. Alright, so James McGinn. Imagine you were to remove all the software from your computer. Your computer would still be usable if you were very smart and knew machine language, which I actually do know. It's kind of fun. I like it just because it is so sterile. But obviously it takes you 600 years to do anything. Well, 600 lines of code. But if you were not real smart or didn't have time to learn machine language, you might find the computer unusable. Beliefs are like the software of the mind. Well, I've only said that 4 million times. I've said the word programming over and over and over and over again. So, this is kind of, it's kind of patronizing and almost insulting in the sense that I've only used the word programs over and over and over and over again. Software has some safety features in it that hide the underlying machine language. I don't think they're safety features. And I don't think they hide the machine language. They simplify it. They ignore it in the sense that they make it so you can use one single word instead of using the definition for a word. It's the same idea. Instead of defining all the words we use in sentences, we can just use the words. See? Instead of saying a wet fluid that flows and freezes and does this, I can say water. See? Shortcut. This is analogous to the fact that our minds hide the fact from us. Bullshit. That our minds are deterministic. It's just nonsense to say our minds hide it from us. There's no such thing happening. This whole thing over determinism is a psych meme. It's a cultural meme. There's nothing scary about determinism. There's nothing woo-woo. There's nothing strange. It's just anti the silly religious fable, the cartoon that people are mostly raised in. If you're not raised in the cartoon, there's nothing about determinism that's at all annoying or irritating. If you already concluded your parents are imbeciles, okay, the fact that they're psychologically programmed lunatics that got in way over their head is already apparent. So the idea that you're not afraid of it anymore, you're not afraid of the truth. So there's nothing about our brain that prevents us from seeing determinism. It's just that there's been nothing in our culture that's been comfortable with the concept. The culture is comfortable with their little God fables. A philosophy that fails to hide this, fuck that. There's no hiding it. There's no need to hide it. There's absolutely nothing about determinism that could possibly mean anything to your sex life or any other part of your life. It doesn't touch any of it. It only gives you a little bit of knowledge about the fact that it's a cause and effect. It's your byproduct, not product. And that might be a little bit diminishing to your ego, but it's just a little bit. Opens the door to the underlying code of our minds. It still isn't going to do that. I'm still saying these words without any conscious idea of what the fuck I'm going to say. I know I'm going to say some good stuff. I know I'm even going to be funny sometimes, but I'm not doing it. I'm not seeing it. So none of this determinism doesn't make you capable of seeing how your brain works and why it thinks this or why it thinks that or why... No. You're never going to get all of those answers. And the only people that know machine language should be there. Because if they make a mistake, it could cause major problems. So, yeah, I just think this whole underlying theory that there's some major problem with the idea of recognizing the truth of our existence. The problem with that is that you recognize the truth that if things suck, they suck because we let them suck. The fact is that, there's nobody to blame. God didn't do it. We're doing it. That kind of thing. That's the only part of this that's relevant or meaningful. The failure is ours, Horatio. Alright, so done with that. William Gelfield. Anyway, this fake troll, lying coward. This little weasel of a slandering of a lying, weaselly coward. He's a coward. He doesn't put up anything. He just throws little mud balls from behind his little safe rock. He's afraid to show his real glass house ugly mug. He's afraid to say this shit in public on video and make it stand and leave it published so people can go back to it and mock what a fucking piece of dirt he is. Such a fucking coward, hiding behind John Wayne's image. Alright, looks like one of your videos was removed, cause and effect. I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was just YouTube made it private for some glitchy reason. I realized it was private when it shouldn't be. I made it public. The end of the controversy. I don't know why it happened. It's a glitch of some kind, I think. No intent involved. It was made private. It was public. Somehow around 200 views, it went private. I made it public again. The end of the story. Terms of service for the win. So if that's your attitude, asshole, that people's videos should be taken down, then why shouldn't I just remove you as a commenter? You're a skanky, lying piece of shit. You don't deserve the right to speak on my platform. Fuck you until properly finished. Yeah. You're such weaselly pieces of shit that you won't even defend a contract. So now he's on the. So this is on the Nick Beardy Man video, which I think was a great video, by the way. I mean, one of my best, actually. And it's funny, the ratings suck, but it's a great video. It's funny and smart as fuck. So anyway, so he's on a completely different subject. So you know he's on this stupid crap about the fact that I think women are competent to make contracts, and that nobody should accept people making contracts about important things and just say, "Oh, it's okay. I can change my mind anytime I want." No, they should mean something. Your words should mean something. Here he is hiding behind John Wayne's image, right? A guy who in all the movies was the kind of guy you wouldn't cross John Wayne. Yeah. You don't fuck with him. You don't steal his house, right? You don't do some kind of bullshit because he comes back and takes it back from you, fucker. Hard. So here he's hiding behind a character who stood for honor, integrity, and yet this asshole has none. He doesn't believe in it. Alright. So, now there's other, so that's a quote, and then he's going to write this in italics for some reason. I would argue that the sort of men who would stand face to face with their dueling pistols, again, this isn't in the Nick video. What are you talking about? This isn't on the subject, douchebag. Not even close to the subject. Anyway, would find men don't defend contracts to be disgusting little weasels. Violate the contract, I will kill you. So again, you don't believe contracts should mean anything. You think people should be able to commit perjury anytime they want, and they should lie about contracts, and they should make deals that they don't intend to fulfill, and they should be like Trump, you know. Fine print, little shenanigans. You go bankrupt, I don't. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're just such a piece of suck. And then he says, better rage quit YouTube again. Again, I've been on YouTube for 10 years. I'm allowed now and then to say YouTube sucks and to walk away for a while. I'd walk away permanently if we actually had an honest internet. But again, you're not for anything honest or fair or anything of integrity. You're for everything being owned by scumbags like you, apparently. And while you're at it, better file a frivolous lawsuit. So again, that's a lie and a slander. So I will sue you someday. Okay, if I win my Nobel Prize, you're on my, yeah, this asshole needs to be sued. Because it's a lie. Okay, judges can say frivolous lawsuit. Guess what? You don't win appeals as a pro se if your lawsuit was frivolous, asshole. Newsflash, by the way. So fuck you, you lying piece of shit. You don't have the guts to argue those subjects. You want to argue about fair taxation and what the Constitution says on the subject? About how the very reason the Constitution exists is to protect the rights of the majority? That means that vices have to be treated equally. Majority vices have to be treated likewise commensurate to the way minority vices are treated. So you're not allowed to tax the minority vice heavier than you tax the majority vice. That's a constitutional principle. Now maybe you don't believe in the Constitution because you're an un-American coward. You're a fucking coward. You can't defend your rhetoric. You're too weak. You're too cowardly. Alright. It won't accomplish anything, but it'll make you feel better. And it's what you do, it's what you in your spare time. That isn't a sentence, by the way, asshole. And it's what you in your spare time. It's not a complete sentence. You can't even write complete sentences. You're such a fucking disabled, crippled loser of a piece of crap. So why don't you put up, pussy shit? Make a video, pussy. Pussy, you coward. You dickless, flapping cunt coward. Okay. So his other comment, so again, not even close to being on anything that was the subject of that hour-long video to the modern mystic. Nothing. Just complete troll nonsense. Alright, so at least this comment is somewhat on the subject, but I've read a couple of sentences of it, and it has nothing to do with the actual statements in the video. Alright. I'm 6 minutes into this piece of shit video and already you're talking rubbish. So again, that, in my opinion, only really obnoxious assholes think they have a right to judge a video before they watched it. It's like judging a movie before watching enough of it. All of it even. Because some movies, like Unforgiven, the last 5 minutes of the movie redeems all of the flaws. Every flaw in that movie is cleaned up with that fantastic ending. Maybe you don't think that was a fantastic ending, because he's basically talking again about being liars and cutting up whores and stuff. You know, you're a whore cutter. You're a rubbish human being. Alright, anyway. Yeah. You think the world should be a place where deserve has nothing to do with it. Alright. Gary, you have a problem learning the definition of words. No, you couldn't even finish a sentence properly. You can't even construct a sentence properly, you fucking idiot. Inertial, so he's not on the subject. Inertial reference frames are not picture frames. I didn't say they were picture frames. What I made the argument about was the fact that, well, maybe it's one thing for you to go inside gravity wells and then fly out of them again. Because then you have to, first you go in for the bend, you go faster, and then you go slower going out, and so the math is going to work out. But when you're doing these stupid time frames, okay, the problem is you're not following the forces, asshole. And you have a problem because you don't understand physics, and that is you're leaving force on the table. You can't fix your broken physics. Your stupid broken perceptions do not change the physical realities, asshole. And you will be buried on the ash heap of stupid motherfucker because you don't understand physics, and yet you're arrogantly claiming some sort of authority to explain it to somebody else. You're a dumbass with a silly God theory. Your little quantum God theories. You idiot. Your little wavy theories. Waves in what, retard? Oh, magical fields of bent loop-de-doo. You're an idiot. Chaos theory is not randomness. I didn't say chaos theory was randomness. I said you don't use chaos theory, okay, as a way of describing complexity. That's idiotic. Complexity is order. Order is not the same as chaos. Idiot. Filters aren't something you call, stuff that goes through a filter, you don't call it chaotic. Idiot. A compatibilist says that the distinction between actions free from other constraints, real chains like being in jail or mental constraints like schizophrenia, is meaningfully different than actions which arise from the will. So he's saying there's a compatibilist, which I'm not one of, says the distinction between actions from other constraint, free from other constraint. Free from what? Biological desire? Biological, physiological reactions? You mean like reflexes? Idiot? Yeah. What's the will, idiot? The will is derived out, is caused by something, idiot. The will doesn't arrive from nowhere. It's a byproduct of desire with cognitive intent. Anyway, is meaningfully different than actions which arise from the will, whatever the will is. Don't pretend the word will doesn't exist. I didn't say it doesn't exist. I say it's a placeholder for the more important subject, which is things like desire, consent, what other word did I use? Confidence, with intent. I used the word desire with intent. I said that in the video, idiot. Because you can't argue like that. It makes you look stupid. There's nothing stupid about me saying the word will doesn't really mean anything without a definition, because it's like the word love. People are using it to say something like willpower or willful. Now, do you think willful and willpower are the same thing? No, I think those are as different as I love my mother and I love my girlfriend. I think those two kinds of love are very different. Retard. You wouldn't know the difference, of course, because you fuck your mother, obviously, many times. In the ass, because you can't figure out what a vagina is. And you fucked her with your head, because you don't have a hard dick. Alright, hard determinists, O-T-O-H, whatever that means, say the distinction doesn't matter. What distinction? I know you forgot already, so read it again. And zoom the page fast forward so you can read it easily. Well, this is coming from an asshole who hasn't watched the video. So he's suggesting somebody else read something where I'm saying, you have such limited comprehension skills, you can't even watch a video before commenting on it. You have such a weak bladder, you can't even hold it. Okay, you have to shit, you know. You have to spew, okay? You can't even wait. Little puke monster. So, whatever. You say hard determinist. I don't think you even know what a hard determinist is, because you're a weak religious kook. Now that you don't have an excuse to pretend you don't understand me, maybe we can proceed. Whatever, douche. So why are you not compatibilist? I stated why I'm not compatibilist many times. I watched Daniel Dennett explain his compatibilism. Now, he's the guy who's really the father of compatibilism, right? And his explanation basically was, well, people need to believe they have free will. We should lie because the people need to live by lies. That was the definition of compatibilism. It doesn't have anything to do with anything rational. It just has to do with some pussy shit, where Daniel Dennett's a pussy, and he thinks human beings can't handle it, because only big brains like him, big baldy white-haired brains like him, can handle the concept. He's such an arrogant twat. And he's so inarticulate and incapable of making a rational argument, you know, except some faggy little gooey one, you know, little fable stories, that, you know, he's too much of a pussy to make the argument for determinism. Yeah, he's a coward, like you. All right. So why are you not compatibilist? That's why. It's silly to be just a silly liar. You say we're writing the CD. I'm saying that obviously the CD isn't written, because if you believe the past, the present, and the future exist, obviously this CD hasn't been written yet. Okay, this DVD isn't on the DVD yet. I didn't say this sentence till now. Now it's in the past. Now it's on the DVD. But it really wasn't on it until I said it. Okay. So you do say our willful acts are meaningfully different than ones we do not will. Again, I don't say anything like that. I say we have a concept of desire and knowledge. We have two things that control our behavior. Impulses tied to comfort, and intellectual understanding that's tied to an understanding of integrity. Now see, if you have integrity, then when you think something like, gee, the people in China do starve if we throw food in the garbage, it's just true, or something like that, and it bothers you. It causes dissonance in your brain, and you say, well, we have to resolve this. This is a problem. Or I think something like, well, 10,000 turtles have to die for one mature turtle. That's too expensive. And so now I have a dissonance, and it will remain in my brain as a dissonance. This is not acceptable. It's just not. You find it all acceptable. My brain says it's not acceptable. So now it's part of my will, okay, that this problem be fixed. Now I don't have a specific way of doing that besides just explaining to other people, hey, this is problematic, isn't it? Asshole. That's my will. My will is not to have it ignored once it's been exposed as a truth. Meaningfully different than the ones we do not will. So again, I don't make these distinctions. We have desires and we have understanding. And often our desires are self-interested, and often our understanding can be much grander and bolder. And the only thing that makes our understanding personal is when we apply something like, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I want to have integrity. These are things you wouldn't understand because you don't have testicles and you don't have a dick. Yes, everything is caused, including your willful actions. Yes, I agree. But you hold people morally responsible for their willed actions. I never hold anybody morally responsible. I don't use the word moral, idiot. I've explained why people have to be punished. It's to preserve deterrence. I've said overtly, aggressively, over and over and over again, if there is no deterrent value, if you can prove punishing a criminal has no, absolutely zero deterrent value, then I'll say let him go. If you're going to tell me that it won't stop him from committing the crime, it won't stop other people from committing the crime, it'll create absolutely no social benefit to punish the guilty, then I'll say, let the guilty free. That's what I've said in videos over and over again, you lying troll. Now if you actually watched videos, instead of just critique them based on their title or something, you'd understand that. If you had integrity and wanted to make sure you were being honest and fair to the videos you watched, then you wouldn't say shit like that. You fucking lying piece of crap. But you hold people morally responsible for their willed actions. Again, never have I said I hold people morally responsible. All I have said is it makes more sense if you have to create deterrence. That means you have to punish somebody. You have to create a whip. Better to whip the guilty than the innocent. You think it's imperative that people choose writing a good CD instead of a bad one. I think it's imperative for people who are smart enough to see that we're making a horror film, that they recognize that making a horror film is stupid, and that maybe we do something about that so it's not a horror film anymore. Yeah, that's what I think should happen. Smart people should recognize it's not going to get fixed by itself. maybe I have to pick up a broom and a dustpan, take the trash out. Which means the distinction between, that was a veiled reference to you, fuckhead. Which means the distinction between willed and unwilled acts are meaningful to you. No. I judge the action based on its qualitative effect. Your intent doesn't mean much in actual fact. I mean, it does in the don't get me wrong. It means something that you tried, but the end game is the effect. So even though I have good intentions to save the world, if I fail, I failed, and that's all there really is. My good intentions don't make the failure all right. They don't clean up the failure. The fact that a drunk driver doesn't intend to kill anybody doesn't change the fact that he kills somebody. That's compatibilism by definition. Well, again, you say it is. I don't agree with any of the crap you said I said, because I didn't say it. I said exactly the opposite. I'm saying again by overtly and aggressively, I'm not a compatibilist, because all a compatibilist is a liar. I happen to think your arguments against compatibilism are valid. So he just spent all this time talking shit, trying to say I'm a compatibilist, and then he concedes I'm arguing against compatibilism. What sense does that make? If everything in the universe is determined, then everything I do and everything you do is inevitable. Yes, it's inevitable. I find you to be an irritating, scuzzy stench. You're a disgusting human being. You should grow the fuck up. You should grow a dick and some balls and be a man. So the idea that we could have done otherwise is meaningless. It's only meaningful in the Einstein sense, that you're an idiot if you keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. The meaningful part is that we've seen over and over and over again what failure looks like, and we've seen what causes failure, and what causes it is when good people fail to do what good people need to do. Okay, the idea that Hitler could have done otherwise is meaningless. Well, again, that's not the subject. The subject isn't whether Hitler could do otherwise. The subject is whether the people around him could have done otherwise, in the sense that they could have been a little bolder and said, you know what, we're all getting a nice paycheck. It's all fun to be, friends with the Fuhrer and shit. But he really is a crackhead. And, maybe we ought to talk him into getting out of this gracefully. Alright, so whatever this stupid Hitler talk. Meaningless. Now you might argue, but only if Hitler had been given better ideas. By whom? Well, as I stated in the video you didn't watch, by the hundreds of people around Hitler. His handlers. The people around him also lacked free will. Well, again, I'm not arguing they didn't have free. I'm not arguing they had free will. What I'm saying is that they probably had certain knowledge that what they were doing sucked, and that it'd be really cool if they found a way to get off the suck train and put the thing on the right tracks. According to you, so your notion of ideas as viruses fails spectacularly. So again, because nobody convinced Hitler that he was an idiot, that means that nobody should ever argue with anybody ever. Martin Luther King should have never gotten out of bed because he would have failed, and everybody knows he was a failure, so he should have never even tried to lead a movement, because that was obviously a failed, stupid, idiotic thing to do. How could he not understand that it was futile? Oh, that's right, it wasn't. You really don't give a shit about history, do you? You don't give a shit about the fact that your example can be undone by literally hundreds of thousands of examples in history where people did stand up and did make a difference. They stood up and they didn't fail, They won. Spectator, answering the problem of reconciling your ethics with your hard determinism. Again, there's no problem reconciling the two, and again, determinism doesn't have anything to do with ethics, really, idiot. It just has to do with having knowledge of the fact that we're byproduct, not product. That anything you bake with your brain is completely dependent on you being provided the recipe and which is the ingredients. The ingredients make what you are. Therefore, all your creativity is a byproduct of the mixture of the ingredients. Therefore, your positions are inconsistent. No, they're not, you lying piece of shit. And I'm not pointing this out to you, period. That's not a useful sentence. And Piro is pointing this out to you. So you think Piro is rational. So he has capital. He has a capital on the word "and." I mean, and then he'll talk about other people's limited understanding of anything or even reasonably communicating. Piro's videos are absolute mush. And Beardy Man is pointing it out to you. Go talk to Beardy. Go post a comment on Beardy Man's video, and I bet you're going to get ridiculed royally, because you're an idiot, and you won't be able to say anything Beardy Man will have any respect for, because you're a fucking idiot. So even when you're trying to say something that Beardy Man would like you to say, that you think it will be the right thing to say, you're too incompetent, too stupid, too way behind on this subject, too fucking dumb and stupid on this subject to say anything that he'll tolerate. He'll make shit out of you, asshole. So don't use Beardy Man's name like you're on Beardy Man's side, because you're so much fucking dumber than Beardy Man. It's it's the difference between an electron and a black hole. Are you ignoring these objections on purpose? Well, again, there's no objection that you're citing, a specific objection. There's nothing in Piro's video but comic strip nonsense. He doesn't articulate anything rational. He uses as examples stupid things like he thinks people still think the sun actually rises on the edge of the flat earth. Or do you contend that it doesn't matter whether your ignorance is deliberate or not? Well, again, I'm not ignorant, you are. And you're worse than ignorant. You're stupid and ill-informed. You're retarded. You're delusional. Perhaps you have a deeper psychological reason for denying that you have will power. I deny that putting the words will and power together makes any sense whatsoever. I have ideas, concepts, notions. They can all be motivating. If you see the damsel in distress, that has power to motivate you. It's not my will that has the power. It's the power of the concept of the harm and my opportunity to fix it. That has all the power. I don't have any power. Anyway, I don't like you, and I hate your guts. Every one of them. Every single one of your gut parts. Everything about you is a stinking, rotten, festering, putrid, rancid piece of shit. You are the anti-inmendham. I wish you would do a video just so everybody could see what an anti-inmendham looks like. You are disgusting. You're no doubt you are the ugliest motherfucking creature on planet Earth. I don't like frivolous people who don't want to take responsibility for their lives. Yet you want people to lie, to cheat, to violate the Constitution, to give no shit about the rules, to pay no attention to reward and punishment. I don't hesitate to say this since you were the one who applied the label frivolous first. And again, I think you are insanely frivolous and said you don't like frivolous people. And you did this unprovoked for no reason other than to be an asshole. So again, I'm the asshole because I point out how frivolous people suck, and then you just spent 4 sentences talking about how much you hate frivolous people. So again, grotesque contradiction just makes you an obvious hypocrite. You obviously don't know what you're talking about. Your own brain is so disorganized that you can't even find a subject and stay anywhere close to on it. I bet you can't ride a horse. Which is what you have to resort to when you don't have an argument. If anyone is frivolous, it's you. In defense of, and yet, yeah, I'm arguing against people being frivolous. Right. Maybe you should spend less time worrying about what everyone else is doing. Well, again, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not creating life. I'm not playing God. They are. So it would be pointless for me to be worrying about what I do, because what I do has nothing to do with torturing sentient creatures on planet Earth. I'm not the one saying, let's make more of it. I'm the one saying, let's sanitize all of it. So what I'm doing is harmless. What you lunatics are doing is the thing that's dangerous. But you're too stupid to figure that out. I bet if you had a gun, you'd eventually blow your own brains out. Quit blaming society. What? Quit blaming the guilty. Okay. Sure. No, I don't think I'll do that, asshole. Quit blaming your parents. Obviously, my parents were incompetent. They admitted as much. They conceded they probably would have been better off world traveling than having 4 kids they didn't know how to raise. Quit blaming immigrants. Well, clearly, immigration's a problem. And if you think America's still going to be America and not some other country, if you keep importing people who don't want to be Americans, then you're just as dumb as Piro. Yeah. Is English your first language? Start looking in the mirror. Well, why don't you do that, and then you'll see that you're too ugly to have any excuse to exist. If someone who didn't learn how to speak English comes into your town and takes your job, what do you think that tells you? So if somebody comes into town and my job doesn't really require me to speak English, like I'm cutting grass or I'm doing some other kind of mechanic, I work in a machine shop and all I have to do is read 2 signs like on button, off button. And somebody shows up and decides to do the job for half my salary because he's desperate for a cookie. He's never had a cookie in his whole life. No one should complain. Yeah, fuck you. I would complain. Alright, so you're done here, Wilhelm. Please, do what's required. You know what the right thing to do is. So, fuck off. You rude, obnoxious, lying piece of shit. Anyway, I don't think there's anything else that requires comment. Yeah, Henry Potter said, please talk about fat Christians sometime. Yeah, I'm sorry about the fat jokes I make here and there. I mean, you see, the funny thing is this guy says this shit, and then I say, oh. I mean, it's just such a rude and stupid remark, and then I say to myself, yeah, you know, people being that stupid make me feel bad for indulging any of it. And, you know, every now and then you think, well, maybe it's okay to say faggot, or, you know, and you think, nah, just remember who does that shit and why they do that shit. Because they're lazy, you know, they can't do better. Don't fall into that trap. So I apologize to the people who have weight issues. Sometimes I go there and there's no point in going there. But I mean, insulting Buddha is a little different, right? I mean, if something's going to be pretending to be the savior or something, yeah, it shouldn't look like it's been eating cake and cookies all day. That's all. Shouldn't be any such thing as a fat Buddha. That's just kind of oxymoronic. So anyway. Now Trick made some sort of reasonable paraphrase of the fact that, yes, your video was good. He should have just said that. But whatever. So anyway, yeah, there's not much here that's worth comment. So anyway, but yeah, these last two videos I think were really good videos, and yeah, not much of a, you know, not much recognition of that fact, but whatever. The people are stupid, so what can I expect? just way over your heads. Yeah, probably. Anyway, till next time and such.